John Palmer, a name that became synonymous with organised crime, was first forcefully thrust into the public eye through the investigative journalism of Roger Cook. Known for his fearless reporting and hard-hitting television program, The Cook Report, Cook exposed Palmer's vast criminal empire and his ability to evade justice with the help of corrupt officials. Palmer, dubbed Goldfinger due to his involvement in gold smuggling, smelting, and the Brinks Mat robbery, was a master manipulator who built an empire through fraud, money laundering, and international criminal connections. Welcome back to Crime Chronicles. Today we look at how a New Zealand-born, UK-based investigative journalist exposed the depth of John Goldfinger Palmer's criminality. Stay tuned as we see how Palmer's empire was built on the foundations of criminal enterprise, bolstered by a network of corrupt senior policemen, Inland Revenue officers, and Crown Prosecution Service insiders. His ability to elude justice was as remarkable as it was disturbing. Roger Cook's TV show, The Cook Report, ran from 1987 to 1999, and he was described in the British press as a nemesis in a leisure shirt, a cross between Meatloaf and the Equalizer, and the bravest and most beaten-up journalist in Britain. He was also called the Taped Crusader. He was a slightly overweight, almost shabby man, but when it came to exposing wrongdoing, he was fearless. At the time of the Cook Report, Palmer was one of Britain's most elusive criminals, shielded by a network of corrupt officials and his own ability to outmaneuver law enforcement. The Cook Report aired explosive revelations about his involvement in gold smuggling, his ties to the infamous Brinks Mat robbery, and his extensive money laundering operations. The program detailed how Palmer had managed to recycle the proceeds of the £26 million gold bullion heist, refining and reselling the stolen gold in a sophisticated laundering scheme. With his extensive contacts in law enforcement and government agencies, Palmer was able to stay ahead of authorities for years. Cook's team faced numerous challenges, including threats and intimidation tactics employed by Palmer's associates. Despite these obstacles, Cook's meticulous investigation led to the public uncovering of Palmer's widespread criminal network. His exposé was instrumental in bringing to light how deeply embedded organised crime had become within British institutions, and how easily corruption could facilitate criminal enterprise. Palmer's criminal career began with small-time frauds, but he quickly expanded into more lucrative enterprises. His involvement in the gold trade allowed him to amass a fortune, estimated to be in the hundreds of millions. He set up a gold dealership that acted as a front for laundering the proceeds of the Brinks Mat heist, one of Britain's most infamous robberies. His influence extended beyond gold smuggling. Palmer also had deep connections with the Russian mafia and Colombian cartels, laundering vast sums of money on their behalf. His ability to operate internationally made him a formidable figure in the underworld, and law enforcement agencies struggled to bring him to justice due to his web of protectors within the system. Investigating Palmer was fraught with danger. Roger Cook and his team faced significant risks, including physical threats, surveillance, and intimidation tactics. Palmer's network of enforcers ensured that anyone digging too deeply into his affairs was met with resistance. Cook, however, was undeterred. During the investigation, Cook obtained evidence that Palmer was bribing officials and using corrupt police officers to tip him off about impending raids. This level of corruption made it nearly impossible for honest law enforcement officers to build a case against him. The program highlighted how Palmer was able to avoid prosecution despite overwhelming evidence against him. Cook's persistence eventually forced authorities to take action, but Palmer's legal maneuvering and powerful connections meant that justice was slow. His empire continued to grow, and his money laundering operation and property portfolio expanded globally. Even from prison, Palmer was able to direct his criminal enterprises using illicit mobile phones, a fact that the Cook Report exposed in its investigative pieces. Palmer's operations were not confined to the UK. His reach extended across Europe and beyond, with Spanish authorities also investigating his activities. He owned luxurious properties in Spain, using them as bases for his international crimes. The Spanish police played a crucial role in tracking his movements and providing intelligence to their British counterparts. One of the most damning pieces of evidence uncovered by Cook and his team was Palmer's role as a banker for other criminals. He would charge a 25% commission on illicit funds, ensuring that his wealth continued to grow even as law enforcement agencies attempted to dismantle his empire. Despite his vast network of protection, Palmer's luck eventually ran out. Authorities could not trust their own ranks, forcing them to conduct inquiries in secrecy. Their operation had to be run from an unlikely location, a remote RAF electronic warfare base in Cumbria, where the risk of leaks was minimal. Investigators knew that any misstep could alert Palmer and his extensive network of informants. He was eventually arrested and faced numerous charges, though his conviction did little to stem the tide of his criminal activities. From behind bars, he continued to run his empire, demonstrating the extent of his influence and the failures of the system meant to stop him. Ultimately, Palmer met a violent end, although at the time it seemed unexpected. He was assassinated in the grounds of his Essex mansion, shot multiple times in what appeared to be a professional hit. The initial police response was shockingly inadequate, with authorities initially attributing his death to complications from gallbladder surgery. This blatant oversight fueled suspicions of corruption within the police force, as it seemed implausible that such a high-profile criminal could be murdered without a proper investigation. The sheer number of suspects, reportedly as many as 16,000, made solving his murder nearly impossible. His connections to organized crime, corrupt officials, and rival factions meant that there were numerous individuals with motives to see him dead. He had also been at the head of a multi-year global timeshare scam which affected thousands and would have added to the impressive list of suspects who wanted him dead. Whether his assassination was the result of a betrayal within his network, a rival seeking retribution, or a state-sanctioned act to silence him remains a matter of speculation. Roger Cook's fearless journalism played a crucial role in exposing Palmer's empire and highlighting the deep-rooted corruption within British institutions. The Cook Report was one of the first major televised investigations to shed light on the scale of organised crime in the UK, setting a precedent for future investigative journalism. Cook's work not only informed the public, but also pressured authorities to take action against criminals who had long been considered untouchable. His dedication to uncovering the truth, despite the dangers involved, remains a benchmark in investigative journalism. For over 2 decades, John Palmer seemed to exist beyond the reach of law enforcement, weaving a web of corruption that extended into the highest levels of the British justice system. Thanks to journalists like Roger Cook, the public gained a clearer picture of the murky world of international crime syndicates and the individuals who profit from them. In the end, while Palmer's empire was dismantled, the corrupt structures that allowed him to thrive remain. The fight against corruption and organised crime continues, and investigative journalists like Roger Cook remain vital in holding power to account. Thank you for joining us today on Crime Chronicles. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the channel with your friends.